Everyone told us and told us marriage is hard work. Not for me and Nick.
Well, it's not often, Simon, that we actually get to go into a film, or at least I'm speaking from my own point of view here, but it's not often that I get to go into a film where I know fuck all about it going in, and especially such a high-profile film, you know, directed by David Fincher, starring fucking Ben Affleck, you know, starring the new Batman. So Gone Girl's been a bit of a treat in that regards.
Yeah, and it's been nice that nothing's been spoiled, because, you know, the book's been out a while, and then you always get that one twat who's read the book. And I mean, we're probably that twat for Game of Thrones.
Oh, I'm definitely that twat.
But I'm just, we got through it all, and I didn't get a single spoiler. And It was lovely, and it was nice going to see such a sort of... It is a spoiler-heavy film, really.
Oh,
because it would ruin it if you knew what was going to happen.
I've been trying to tell people about it since I saw it, and they've asked, like, "Oh, well, it's good, is it?" Yeah, it's really good. What's it about? And I'm like, well, it's about a man, Ben Affleck, and his wife goes missing, but I can't really tell you any more than that. But believe me, there's a lot more than that going on.
Well, I've been saying to people, it's about Ben Affleck, his wife goes missing, and the police think it might be him. And then they say, "Oh, that sounds good." I say, "Yeah, it's a good thriller." And then I explain that it's not the film you think it's going to be. It's
not at all.
Only really a thriller for the first half, and then it almost becomes a psychological horror.
God damn, this is a really twisty and turny film, but it doesn't ever really, like... It has twists, but not in the sense that it kind of pulls the rug out from under you and there's a big revelation. It just constantly changes direction, and all the cards are laid on the table pretty much at any given time. But the film still manages to kind of shift tone and direction at like about 3 times through the course of this like fairly lengthy 2.5-hour movie. 2-hour movie.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think really shines in this is whenever the tone changes, it's normally revolving, if it's not the plot completely changing, it's your opinion of Ben Affleck, and he almost changes. He plays about 6 different characters in this film.
Well, I think everybody kind of does. Like, you know, I didn't know who to like in this film at any given moment. Like, there was times where I felt sorry for Ben Affleck, and then I felt sorry for Rosamund Pike, who plays his wife, and things keep shifting and changing, and nothing's really what it seems. But I mean, maybe we're getting a bit of ahead of ourselves. Like, you know, we mentioned Gone Girl, directed by David Fincher. And I think a David Fincher movie is a big deal. Like, David Fincher is one of these directors who should have won an Oscar by now. And he probably will. He probably be like the new Scorsese. He won't win one until he's old and fucking, you know, on his last legs type of thing. But he's a really high-profile director, has a string of really, really good films, really unique films under his belt, has a very distinct style in the way he makes films. They're always very dark, and they've got a clever edge to them, I always feel. Yeah. So David Fincher makes film, it's something exciting. Ben Affleck these days is hot property, you know, after his kind of post-Daredevil slump. He's back on top, really. You know, he's also a prolific director, but becoming a big star in front of the camera again, really.
I think it's where he should be. I'm quite happy about this.
Yeah, I like Ben Affleck. I really do. He's charismatic. He's kind of got this laid back charisma to him, and I do like him. But on top of them two, you've got Rosamund Pike, who plays Amy, who is Ben Affleck's wife in this, and I should mention as well, Ben Affleck plays a guy called Nick Dunn. And Nick and Amy are essentially a youngish couple, both quite successful. He's a writer. I think she is as well, actually. She's a writer as well.
Yeah.
And they live in New York, and they have a fairly successful life. Amy's actually, her parents are very, very wealthy because they wrote a string of children's books called Amazing Amy. And it's kind of like this Amazing Amy character is essentially a perfect, idealized version of Amy herself. And they've made millions of these books, and her parents are kind of that typical kind of, my daughter never really met my expectations despite her doing really well in life kind of parents. And she has a strained relationship with them, but I mean, that's kind of explained through flashbacks and showing the beginning of their relationship when they meet in New York and fall in love. But it's kind of revealed that the film goes on that they're now living in, goddamn, where are they living? Missouri or somewhere? I can't.
Is Iowa something boring?
It's some kind of middle America, rural state. I can't quite remember off the top of my head what it is, but they've had to move out there to take care of Ben Affleck's mother. She's dying from cancer, and they're kind of stuck out there now. they both got laid off and had to move out there for money reasons, and now they're kind of stuck out there. And it's like early on, you see the first kind of part of the film from Ben Affleck's point of view. He goes out on his daily routine. He goes and sees his sister, who him and them two co-own a bar together in town. And when he goes home, his wife's missing, and there's a bit of the house is in a bit of a disturbance. A table's been tipped over, and there's a few other bits and pieces awry, but nothing major, nothing to like really suggest a massive fight or anything. And the police get involved, and she's gone missing, and it kind of spirals out from there. And he gets accused of murdering her, and it just goes worse and worse and worse as it goes on. But again, we mentioned before, the film keeps shifting tone and shifting direction, and it keeps you guessing all the way through. So yeah, again, we don't want to give too much away. Really. That's kind of like maybe an opening synopsis. There's a lot more to this film than I'd ever like to give away, because a lot of it is in the reveal and the kind of surprise as you go through it. But yeah, I mean, Christ, I really enjoyed this movie, because not only did I not really know anything about it, I had no spoilers. I didn't even really know what it was about, to be honest. I had a vague understanding that it was about somebody going missing, and I presume from the title it was a woman. But other than that...
Well, I assumed that the entire film was going to be about did he or didn't he do it himself, because it's all... And the first hour of the film really follows what I thought was going to happen, and what I really liked about it is that it didn't just... I mean, it's a thriller, so there's not a standard plot. It's like there's a standard setup, and then there's a few things that normally happen, but this just like does away with that about halfway through.
Yeah, it does in a major kind of way, really. It's weird because you can kind of see it coming, but you can't see it coming, and it's still, you kind of half expect it, but at the same time you don't expect it at all. Because it keeps throwing you try to second guess it, and I still fail to really ever predict what was going to happen.
Never, not once.
Yeah, it's really good. It's not. I mean, it never once kind of adheres to what you think is going to happen, and if it, at least not for long, like you say, the first hour is kind of how you expect it to unfold. It's kind of that typical courtroom drama. Well, not even a courtroom drama. It's that typical drama about is this strained marriage at the heart of this issue? Did that cause Ben Affleck to murder his wife? Did it not? Did he do it? Did he not? But there's a lot more to it, and it's very, very clever in the way it does it. It's kind of like. It's kind of like you say, a psychological thriller. It's got a bit of a horror twist to it, and it's almost like this kind of master, like it's almost got like a kind of like a crime caper aspect to it, like planning. How to get away with things, and it's really, really good. And I don't want to say too much more than that, really. But I was really impressed with this film overall, and more so because I didn't have a fucking clue what it was going to be about going into it. Something that's actually quite interesting about this was a 2012 novel, I think, written by a woman called Gillian Flynn, and she actually adapted the screenplay as well.
All right.
And as I say, I don't know anything about the book, obviously not knowing anything about the film going into it, but I've been told that this is fairly close to the book. I could be wrong on that count, but apparently it's a decent adaptation of the book, really.
From what I've heard, there's obviously certain things that have been sort of not fleshed out as much, but I think the only significant change is the last line of the film is delivered by a different person in the book, and it completely changes the tone of what it means.
Oh, really?
So if you might remember the last says, well, the other person says it.
I wonder if that's flipped then, because that line said twice in the film by different people.
All right. So
maybe it's flipped in the film.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know. It's I don't know. Maybe I'll have to read the book. The only person I know.
Drop an interesting fact in regarding the book as well, right? Did you happen to notice who one of the executive producers was of this?
No.
It was Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, shit. You know what? It's funny you say that, because I was reading the Wikipedia article just kind of on production of that.
Yeah.
And Reese Witherspoon was one of the early people who actually got this off the ground.
Yeah, she found the book, she pushed it, and it sounds like she was like the driving force in the early days to get this made.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that. I know a lot of celebrities, once they get a bit of bank behind them in their acting career, they tend to turn to producing on the side. So So I imagine that's kind of what's happened with Reese Witherspoon, but you don't really see her much these days in films. What was her last film? Like This Means War or some shit?
That would be the last film I would say, yeah. But she's obviously, she must have done something since then.
Well, she's is she? She used to be the face of Avon for a while.
She was in Devil's Knot. She was in Mud. I never saw Mud.
No, I haven't seen her in fucking ages, man.
The Good Lie, Inherent Vice, Wild, and then a film that hasn't come out called Don't Mess with Texas. I don't know what a single one of those things are.
No, her acting career is kind of on a downslope, really, and it's a shame because I've liked Reese Witherspoon in the past. One of my favorite films from my teen years was Cruel Intentions.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I really like that film, and that was kind of the first thing I really saw her in.
Hell, I like Legally Blonde. It's a good film, the first one.
Is Shatner in that one?
Is Shatner in that one? I can't remember.
Because he's in one of the Legally Blondes, isn't he? Isn't he like the compare or the? No, sorry, I'm thinking.
You're not fucking Congeniality.
Yeah, I am. I'm thinking of that. Jesus Christ.
I liked her in Little Nicky.
Is she in Little Nicky?
She played the girl.
I don't think so. Oh god damn!
She's in it.
Is she? Oh, she's his mother. She's the angel.
Ah, yes, I remember.
I was going to say, I don't know who. Isn't that Patricia Arquette? No, she's too... I don't know, is it? God damn, I'm going to have to look this up. This is so off track, but I need to know this. God. Oh, God. What the hell? God damn, Adam Sandler.
What are we looking for? What do you want?
It's Patricia Arquette, his girlfriend in it.
All right.
God damn. Well, then, we can move on from there. Getting back to Gone Girl. So yeah, like Gone Girl, really impressed with it straight out the bat. It's easy. It's an easy thing to recommend. Don't really want to say too much about it. I've probably said too much about it already, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's something that if you're interested in it, if you're interested in a very adult thriller,
it's damn adult. And it's nice to go in and see an 18 rating because you know you're going to get something a bit special because it's so rare these days.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Actually, this is an 18, and it's never overtly violent or even overtly graphic in its sex, or there's no hard drug taking or anything like that. It's just I suppose there are some sex scenes that are pretty near the knuckle actually thinking on it, but it's not like really hard, I suppose. There's
plenty of
maybe I'm so desensitized.
Violent scene.
The more I think about it, the harder some of these things actually I recall them being.
Worse ones, and to be honest, regarding the sex, I've probably seen just as bad stuff in a 15. It's the tone changes it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's quite dark. In fact, it's very fucking dark in places, far darker than I expected, which is probably fool on me. It is a David Fincher movie, but yeah, this earns its 18 certificate. The kind of the old-fashioned way, the earnest way. It doesn't revel in like gore or just kind of cartoon violence or just reveling in like kind of being overtly violent and gratuitous. This is just adult in nature, and I really, really like that. I think it was cool. And as you say, how often do you see that these days? I mean, what was the last 18 you went to see that wasn't kind of like just a stupid over-the-top action movie? Like The Raid 2 is probably the last one I saw at the cinema.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And that was, that reveled in being very, very violent, and it was appropriate for that type of film. But
Wolf of Wall Street, but Raid 2 was after that.
Yeah, so Wolf of Wall Street still revels in just being ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's fucking class, but it's one of these films that revels in it obviously aimed to be an 18 right out the bat. Right off the gate. That's the two phrases, isn't it? Right off the bat and out the gate.
You get there in the end.
I get there in the end. I throw them all out, and you got to piece them together yourself. But yeah, we've talked a bit about Ben Affleck. It's really nice to see him in front of the camera doing well. He's done well in his own films, like things like Argo. He wrote and starred.
He's also
directed and starred.
Everyone forgets that.
In what? Sorry, The Town. I love The Town. Yeah, it was really good. So he's good. And it was nice to see him in kind of somebody else's film for a change, doing well.
Yeah.
I don't know. This sounds maybe a little bit just strange, or maybe a little bit bitchy even. But did you think he was looking a bit chunky in this film?
Yeah, like solid.
Well, you know what it seemed
Like,
like? I was thinking he doesn't look like thick. Like I wouldn't say he's fat, but he looked bulkier than he normally was. And I was thinking, I wonder if he's bulking up, ready to play Batman, and he just hasn't kind of.
He definitely was.
He's putting on mass.
I read an interview with Fincher saying that he started training like halfway through filming. So like, it's all obviously they shoot out of chronology, they shoot out of order.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of flashbacks and things in this film, and so some of the scenes that they filmed in like order, he's like Batman size.
Well, I always thought he'd put on a bit of weight, but hadn't got around to like working out to like turn that mass into muscle. Yeah,
that's pretty much spot on. I reckon like he'd started training, he was the size he needed to be, but he had no tone.
It was kind of cool though, because he is playing this kind of slightly washed up middle-aged guy, and I was thinking, you know what, it's nice to see him kind of carrying a little bit of weight. I thought it made him a bit more, it kind of lent itself to the character. I thought that was just something I kind of noticed while I was watching this film. It was a bit
it kind of made him a bit more intimidating as well, because it looks like he could pack a punch, even though it was like
and Rosamund Pike is a really slight mass. But you know, Rosamund Pike, we were saying this the other day when we met up, Rosamund Pike hasn't been as successful as she should have been up until now. Like, I really like this girl.
Fact about her, Ben. This is her second highest grossing opening movie, like for the weekend box office. Really?
And she doesn't. This has not made a lot of money.
No, and it was Die Another Day, it made a lot of money, but God, is it shit.
Yeah, it's not one of the better Bond films. God damn, did this? What the hell did Jack Reacher do then? Because she's in that. And I thought that did well. I really like Jack Reacher. You know what?
A great film.
I fell into this pitfall now where I'm kind of joining the mass ranks of kind of not being asked about Tom Cruise films, and yet every Tom Cruise film I've seen has been really well. Not some of them. It's either been good or really fucking good. Like I never went to see Edge of Tomorrow, and I got to see it finally like about a month ago, and it was fucking class, man. It's just come out on Blu-ray last week. I want to buy it because I want to support it. It was really fucking good. Jack Reacher, you saw it. You said it was good. I didn't see it. I waited till it came on the DVD or on Sky. I watched it. That's one of the best kind of action thrillers I've seen in ages.
Yeah.
It was really fucking good, and I really want them to make more Jack Reacher movies.
If you want the stats for this, Ben, just sorry to interrupt. Die Another Day made $47 million on its opening weekend. Gone Girl made $37 million, and Jack Reacher only made 15.
Wow, really? To be honest, Gone Girl's made a lot more than I thought it had.
Gone Girl so far has grossed $106 million worldwide.
Right. That's pretty good, actually. It's better than I thought, to be perfectly honest. I'm happy, This is not the type of film that's gonna light the box office on fire. It's a very slow-paced, very adult thriller.
Yeah, it's good that it's made that much money because it shows that there's a market for these grown-up films. Like as much as I love seeing like Superman and Batman beating the shit out of some villain, it's nice to have something for grown-ups every now and again. You
know what? Something I didn't mention, and I meant to kind of come in with this, to be honest. Not only was this a surprise because I didn't know anything about this, but you know what the best thing about this film was? It was almost the starting gun for adult films coming back into the cinema, for proper dramas, and the kind of award ceremony run has started now. And this was the firing. This was the pistol to mark the start of that, because over the summer, like the only things we've kind of had are kind of superhero flicks and big budget action films pitched at 13-year-old boys. And as much as I had a fucking class time watching Guardians of the Galaxy 4 times, I'm really happy that we're getting kind of films with more substance to them. We had Gone Girl come out at the beginning of October. We've got Fury coming out in a few days. We've got shit like The Babadook, which, to be fair, could be written off as kind of more horror, like the Halloween horror bullshit, but early press on that's meant to be really good as well. So that's what I liked about Gone Girl as well. It was kind of a signal, return to fucking good films of substance, and that got me excited as well. But talking about Rosamund Pike, she's in this film a shit ton more than I thought she would be. I thought she was going to be kind of like just seen in kind of in dreamlike sequences, and she's not. Yeah. She's in it a lot more than you might think, and her part's a lot more substantial than you might think.
Well, in some way, she's the main character.
Yeah, and it's interesting the way they go. And I gotta say, man, I really like Rosamund Pike, but this is probably her best performance.
Oh, easily.
She's she's got there's a lot of variation and a lot of depth, and much like the main thread of the film. She chops and changes and switches as much as the main plot, really.
And if you look back at some of her other films, like in Jack Reacher, she's pretty much. I mean, she's a strong character, but there's not much to her. Die Another Day, she's a bloody Bond girl villain, so the part's been played a million times over. This was I can remember seeing a performance like this one before. I'm not saying it was 100% amazing, but it was completely original, and she did a cracking job.
She's really good. She's much better than. I mean, I like her, but she's kind of got in my estimations because of this film. It's really good, and to be honest, there's a lot of people in here that kind of shocked, well, not necessarily shocked me, but surprised me. Neil Patrick Harris in a serious adult role. He's not fucking Barney from bloody How I Met Your Mother anymore. He's in this, and he's kind of creepy. Yeah, he's really kind of introverted, nerdy kind of way. He's an interesting character. He's not in it a huge amount, but when he is, he's another dark. He has dark aspects to him, and there's a lot of chopping and changing, and you never know really what to think about him. And he was good. And I think Neil Patrick Harris is a good actor, but he's kind of either he's funneled himself or he has been funneled into that kind of sitcom, charismatic kind of
just over the top flamboyant. I mean, he's hosting the Oscars this year, for Christ's sake.
I know. I think he could be quite good at that.
Oh, he's going to be good. I'm going to watch it again. But I
always remember the first thing I ever saw him in was Starship Troopers.
Yeah, that's probably the first thing I saw him in. Everyone always goes to watched him in Doogie Howser, but definitely for our generation, we all watched Starship Troopers when we were 9. Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, I know what Doogie Howser is, but I don't think I've ever watched it. I think it was before our time, really, wasn't it? It was a very American thing. I don't think it really took off over in the UK. But yeah, Neil Patrick Harris surprised me. And again, it seems like it's almost like, David Fincher teasing these great performances out of a good cast as it is. But you know who the biggest shock in this is? And it might not
Perry?
Tyler fucking Perry, man. Whoa, Tyler Perry, man. Tyler Perry's awesome. And who would have thought that? Now, the thing about Tyler Perry, it's kind of strange talking about him because he's not really a known quantity in the UK.
Yeah. He was shockingly put in that film where Morgan Freeman played the detective last time, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, Alex Cross. He did the Alex Cross reboot, and it was meant to be shit. But Tyler Perry's a weird thing to talk about as a Brit because he's a bit of an unknown quantity in this country. Nobody really knows who he is in this country. But in America, Tyler Perry is a force of fucking box office nature. He is worth so much money that it makes God's head spin.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's so wealthy because he basically makes movies that cater to this kind of to cater to a black audience that simply doesn't exist in the UK on the level that it does in America. And he creates these kind of he does a lot of comedies. He started out I think he started out as a comedian, or certainly does a lot of comedy films with characters. His biggest character is a kind of elderly black woman called Medea, who's, you got to get to church, kind of that old-fashioned, good old Christian wisdom type of character. And he just rattles up, Ernest goes to such and such. Medea pretty much is the black version of that. She just has dozens and dozens of special movies, and they make a fortune. They cost fuck all to make, and they make a fortune. But I've never seen one yet because they simply don't come out in the UK.
Not at all. I've just had I learned who Medea was about 12 seconds before you brought her up.
Yeah, she's a hugely popular character, and it's just Tyler Perry dressed as a large black elderly woman. And just by my description, I bet you have a pitch-perfect picture of what she's actually going to be like.
Yeah, I can exactly imagine.
She's pretty much like the housekeeper of Tom and Jerry. I get the impression. That typical big black mama type. And Tyler Perry makes a shitload of money because of that, but he also does other films that kind of aimed at that kind of middle, kind of Bible Belt black audience. And he did a film a few years ago called Temptation. and Temptation: Confessions of a Marriage Counselor, and it was meant to be like a sexy thriller, and it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, and it made a shit ton of money. I think. Again, it played with kind of black audiences, and it was awful, and it had like really heavy-handed overtones of the devil tempting women into like adultery and shit. And it was awful. It was truly terrible. But Tyler Perry, he does seem to try and occasionally be a serious actor. Like he tried to do Alex Cross, didn't turn out very good, but at least he tried his hand at not being Medea. It might have been funnier if he had been Alex Cross as like Medea as Alex Cross, but. In this film, goddamn, you can kind of see why he's popular, because he's really fucking charismatic.
Yeah, he was class. He almost, like, everything they said about him, he then just brought across instantly. His character is like a lawyer person.
Yeah, his
just
character...
knew exactly what he... In fact, I don't even mean what I just said. He comes on and you know exactly who he is and what he's about.
Well, he's got this fucking name, man. Yeah, you see, he's kind of this hotshot lawyer that he's famous for getting murderers off, like people who are blatantly guilty. He gets them off, and he's a very, very high-powered lawyer, and he does that type of shit all the time. And his name's Tanner Bolt. What a fucking name! You know this man means business as soon as he's called Tanner Bolt. But yeah, he gets involved in things, and you're right. Like he's kind of teased out through news reports about how he's like this kind of hotshot who he's kind of bragging that he could get Ben Affleck's character off if he is convicted of murder or whatever, and he gets embroiled into it as things go on. And as soon as he's introduced, he's so charismatic, and you're like, shit, man, this guy is a slick fucking lawyer. I would pay for him. He's really good, and fuck, I love Tyler Perry in this movie. And I didn't think I would. I thought he was going to be the weak link, and he wasn't at all.
Who would you say the weak link was?
I don't know.
I'm struggling to think of one.
I don't think there is one, really.
The plays his sister is almost integral to all the plot, because she's discussing things more with the audience than anyone else, and she was great.
I really like it. It's a young girl called Carrie Coon. I think she's a young girl. She's not in very much, she looks fairly young. But yeah, it's a girl called Carrie Coon. Carrie Coon, sorry. And she's not really been in much before. Nothing that I recognise, at least. The kind of like it's TV, mainly. In fact, this is her first feature film by the looks of it. She's been in Law and Order and something called The Playboy Club. But never mind. I really liked her. She played Margot, Ben Affleck's sister,
yeah.
Dunn's sister. And you're right, she kind of is the audience in the context of the story. She doesn't really know what's going on. She's kind of a bystander. She gets dragged into this nightmarish story. And I really liked her. She was earnest and grounded. And she felt real. She kind of this sister who... She doesn't really know... She's kind of like us in the fact that she doesn't really know what to think. But because she's the sister of Nick Dunn, she kind of supports him and sticks up for him anyway.
Yeah.
And I really liked her. Again, there was no weak links in this. There was nobody else thinking, oh, fucking hell, you're dragging this film down. Because everybody who was on screen was just pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it was just a quality production all round in it. It takes a lot to make a drama look awesome. And it's like, everything was so just good looking in this. Like the sets, the cinematography. There's nothing outstanding, but just beautiful. Yeah, you're right. It had that David Fincher style to it, where he's got this great, he's got a great way of lighting things that have a very kind of dark, oppressive, gloomy feel to them. Like everything's kind of lit, kind of with kind of bulbs that are burning low type of atmosphere, if you know what I mean. Like everything's got a great sense of shadow and darkness to it at any time in this movie. And David Fincher seems to have that. It was very present in the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That very dark, oppressive atmosphere to it. And this film carries that on. And the atmosphere is further enhanced as well. I mean, not only is the cinematography gorgeous, some great shots, as you say. There's nothing particularly special. He's not showing anything special. Everything's quite kind of everyday and mundane, but there are some gorgeous shots anyway. But the music, which is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who came together to do the soundtrack for The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and The Social Network. And they seem to be David Fincher's go-to now for soundtracks, and I'm so glad they are, because they create some really moody and oppressive music. It's really cool. It just helps build this atmosphere of dread as this film goes on, and it was great, man. It was great. So yeah.
Yeah, we kind of, to be honest, I thought this was going to be a short review. I should know it better than I know, but
Yeah,
this is going to be a short review. But I've enjoyed talking about this. We haven't really talked about this at any great length. And it's a hard film to talk about because you can spoil it very easily. And I think I probably let slip more than I should have. I think you've been quite well behaved.
Yeah, I've been trying.
But I don't think I'm quite as restrained. So you got anything else you want to add?
No, it's good. You should go see it.
Yeah, I think this is I mean, we mentioned before, this is an adult thriller. It's a long film, but it's exciting. Despite it being quite slow-paced, it feels like a book. Like, it is adapted from a book. It sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it feels like a novel in that it takes its time, it goes over things at its own pace, and it develops extra depth because of that. It's not rushing through to show you the next kind of big, exciting set piece or whatever, or they throw another revelation at you. It kind of takes its time. And when things do develop, they kind of hit you harder because they're more kind of meandering and a bit more of a gradual realization of what's going on and what's actually happening. And I thought that was really good. So this is an easy film to recommend. I mean, do you want to move on to ratings?
Yeah, well, when I came out of the film, I was thinking 4.5, but it's definitely one that the more you think about, you realise how clever it is, how intricate it is, how it's nice to go to see a film that doesn't treat the audience like they're dumb as well. It's a very smart film, so I've upped it to a full 5.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. I think I've got the same thinking of you. I'm gonna pitch mine at a 4 because it wasn't a movie because it was so dark and it was so kind of crawling along. I didn't want to watch it straight away again. I think
it took me a couple of days, but I think a second watch would be really interesting. Yeah,
it'd be interesting. It would be good. And I do want to see this again when it comes out. I won't be going to the cinema to see this again. I've done enough repeat viewings this year for Guardians of the Galaxy to not see anything twice for the rest of the year. But yeah, I'm going to pitch mine at a 4 because it is a really good thriller and it's very, very easy to recommend. It's just, I don't know, it didn't wow me like a 5-star film kind of should. That's not to say I don't like it, but you're right, this is a film that will stick with you, and I found myself thinking about it pretty regularly for like a week or two afterwards.
Yeah, I got asked at work if I was all right. I was like, yeah, just thinking about Gone Girl.
Staring off into space with a hollow look.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, did you start to think like, shit, I don't know, if I should be in a relationship anymore?
Fucking hell, yeah.
I really was thinking, Jesus, I'm going to have to keep a fucking eye on what's going on in my life from now on.
Gone in the fucking head, girl.
But yeah, I think that's good, right? So you give it a 5, I give it a 4. I think that comes out as a 4.5.
Should I do the maths? I think that's right.
I think that's right. You know, we're not scientists or anything, but that seems to work.
Well, I am a scientist.
Oh, you are a scientist, but not of math. Not of math.
Is a lack of empathy.
Amy lost a lot of blood in there. Then somebody mopped it up.
Why do they mop up the blood if they're trying to stage a crime scene?
Whatever they found, I think it's safe to assume that it's very bad.
I'd finally realized I am frightened of my own husband.
I would show you, as if you're doing a deposition, what to say, what not to say.
A trained monkey?
A trained monkey who doesn't get lethal injections.
She's going to eat you alive.
You assaulted her?
It's not good enough for you?
I hit her?
It's not even close.
Absolutely not. I never touched her.
We now believe Nick is involved in the disappearance of our daughter.
Without a body, without a murder weapon, their only hope is a confession.
I don't know anything yet. You need to tell me.
How was your marriage, Nick?
Are you asking me if I killed my wife?
Man of my dreams. This man of mine may kill me.
What about my son? Nick!
This man may kill me. In her own words,
This man may truly
kill me.
You ever hear the expression, the simplest answer is often the correct one?
Actually, I've never found that to be true.